Hi everyone, welcome to my channel again. Okay, I'm just sitting here in my home studio and I want to make a short video about equalizing bass on an amplifier, alright? Because during the years, I've seen some crazy settings on bass amplifiers. So let's go over it and see if it can be useful for you. Alright, I'll show you my process. Let's get to it. So on this kind of amplifier, we have four knobs for equalization. We have low end, low mids, high mids, and high end. And when I'm starting out, I'm always starting from the middle. So set everything at 12 o'clock and work your way up from there, alright? Before you do anything on your equalizer, it's very important to make sure that your bass is set up properly and your technique is on point. Because most of your sound is coming from there, so this one won't fix your problems. Alright, let's move on to the individual controls. So when it comes to low end, you have to have enough of it to have a very round sound, it gives you fullness, it gives you... This one is basically the size of your sound, alright? So if I'm playing bass and I feel like my notes are very pointy and, not very full sounding, this one is, it gives you a fuller sound, it makes your bass sound more round and big, but you can't overdo it because you can't cover up the other instruments. Your goal shouldn't be to have the biggest sound in history of bass. It should be to have enough roundness, enough fullness, and then leave it alone. So maybe I'll push it a little bit if I feel like my sound isn't round enough. Maybe a little bit more if I, for example, in open spaces, you tend to push this one a little bit more because in an open space you have less sound bouncing from the walls and stuff, so you tend to lose some of these low frequencies and you might want to compensate for it, but it's not always the case. Just play a little bit and feel it out. If you feel like your notes are a little bit too pointy and not full and round enough, you just push it a little bit until it feels right, and then you move on. When it comes to low mids, this one is usually set at about 350 or 500, and this one gives you some body in your sound, and it can be very tasteful. It can support your low end a little bit, but you have to be careful with it because if you overdo it, things can muddy up pretty quickly. So add to taste, experiment with it. All right, let's move on to this one. This one is interesting because pushing your high mids will give you clarity and will make your bass sound more upfront. All right, so if you want your bass sound to be very self-evident in the mix and be very upfront, then this one is what you're looking to work with. You get the opposite effect if you push it back a little bit. You get a deeper sound and you will perceive your bass sound as more, pushed back in the mix. It's less upfront. It's basically the opposite effect if you do this. All right, so for example, this one is usually set at 700 to 1K, maybe 1.5K in some cases. And yeah, it's basically your clarity knob and how upfront do you want your bass sound to be, or how pushed back do you want it to be. All right, so let's move on to this one. When it comes to high end, high frequencies, it's the metallic part of your sound. All right, you might want this for slap, or you might want this if you're going to play natural harmonics, and if you want some articulation, but it's a little bit more metallic than high mids, so be careful with it, especially if you're playing maybe vintage music. uh, Bass sounds used to be very mid-range focused, so this one is a little bit more modern sounding. It's good for slap, it's good for natural harmonics, and it gives you some brightness overall. Just don't overdo it if you don't want to end up with a very metallic sound, alright? Alright, and that's pretty much it. Experiment with it a little bit. I tried to make it as simple as possible because I think that you shouldn't overcomplicate this. But at least, you have simple guidelines so it won't be a mystery anymore. Let me know how it goes and let me know if you like this kind of videos. I'll make more of them or a more detailed video. Just let me know. I'll do more videos if you like them. See you soon.